Right.
Sorry. No worries.
Okay, so this is Taiwan. Taiwan is a small island and it's in the south of Japan and east of China. People speak Mandarin Chinese in Taiwan and we share a similar culture with China. And this is what a traditional tomb looks like in Taiwan. So you see, I can show you here, a tombstone with the names of the dead. And then these ones you see, they are for individuals. The one in the back that looks like a house, that's for a family. Taiwan is a mountainous island. So for me, I would have no complaint if I am buried in a place with such views. Usually cemeteries are in the mountain areas. And these are the modern ones. So modern cemetery, and that is a tower for urns if you choose cremation. This is a modern way you can go with tree burial or even sea burial. And the major religions in Taiwan are Buddhism and Taoism. Taoism is very big in Taiwan. Taoism is like a mixture of Buddhism and some really cool Chinese philosophy. So it is heavily influenced by great philosophers such as Confucius and Lao Tzu. So that's what we practice the most in Taiwan. Now you know we believe in Buddhism and Taoism. I have a quiz question for you. What do we believe that will happen after death? Which one?
I feel like I've seen like all of those.
All of them? Yeah. Okay. Any different answers?
Is there reincarnation?
Oh, okay. Right. So actually, you were right. We believe all of this could happen after death. So first of all, we believe people have souls, and our soul lives on even when our body perishes. So first we become a ghost. Then the messengers from God will come and take us to heaven or hell. We stay there until the right time comes for us for the reincarnation. So we start the next life. However, in some rare cases, if a ghost doesn't have any families to worship them, that means nobody on earth has any memories of them. Nobody on earth is thinking of them. In that case, such ghosts will break apart and disappear into nothingness. For us, that is very, very sad. So for us, we make sure to worship our ancestors. We make, you see here, we make the tablets with our ancestors' names on it. We have a dedicated place at home for them. And we offer food, we worship our ancestors with incense in our hands. Okay, so this is what we believe everything here could happen. Then what do we wish for our deceased loved ones? What do we want for them? Do we want them to go into nothingness? Absolutely not. We want them to go to heaven, and we want them to live happily and comfortably in heaven while they stay there. But how can we ensure that? How can we ensure they really have a comfortable life in heaven? We give them money. Okay. So this is just paper money, and the money comes in different denominations. Okay. So you can see maybe the small ones is like $1, and the bigger ones might be 1,000,000. So that's how we make sure our loved ones will be okay in heaven. The way we offer money to them is to burn the money, to burn it. But it's not just money that we give our loved ones. We provide everything they could possibly need. Everything, okay? Like daily necessities, you see in the pictures? And this is all made of paper. They are not the real thing, it's all made of paper. We provide them transportation, including a chauffeur, if you can see in the picture, okay? We offer them housing with a vegetable garden and entertainment as well. We even give them partners to play mahjong with. Okay, so we make sure they will be very happy in heaven. You see, all of these objects, they are made of paper. Do you remember how we offer these things to our ancestors, to our loved ones? Burn them, yeah. We need to burn them so the smoke will bring up these things to heaven. Now, imagine this is your occupation, like this master you see in the picture. Do you see the house behind him? That is work for the dead. So to do this job, you will take a lot of time working with paper, and you see the details. These are the traditional ones. The ones I showed you just earlier, these are easier to make. You just use a computer and print out. It's much easier to make. But the traditional ones, they are 3D, and you really just use bamboo for the bones, for the structure, and put up multiple layers of paper, and you color them, and you pay so much attention to all the details. I think there's something very poetic about his job. So for his creations to enter eternity, he must burn them all down and then let them go. So I think this is so fascinating. It is so fascinating that French people even held a museum exhibition for the Taiwanese paper art. So you see, this is a traditional house, and then some figures for the gods. All of this is made of paper. So today I can actually only tell you very little. It's just a tiny fraction from Taiwanese traditions and culture, but I would like to invite you to think about this question. What does the way we treat the dead reveal about us? You just saw a little bit of Taiwanese culture. What do you think Taiwanese people think? What do you think about this question? I look forward to your answers in the Q&A session. Okay, so if you find our topic interesting today, please do not miss out this event. I am going to show a Taiwanese movie on ghost theme. So this is close to Halloween. We can continue our discussion today and talk more about what Taiwanese people believe. So this will be on Tuesday, October 21st. And you need to register with AASU, Asian American Student Union, I believe. Okay, so that's just something small from me. That's all from me today. Thank you very much. Alrighty.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the paper objects, those are really nice objects, so like the BMW motorcycle. So is that something someone would have had while they were alive, or is that something that maybe they want to have?
Yes, that's a good question. So both are possible. Maybe the dead person was a heavy motorcycle rider. He was an enthusiast in motorcycles, so we burn that to him to make sure they are still enjoying their hobbies. But sometimes it's something that we wish we had done for them, for our families, for our loved ones, and then we just want to make sure now they are in heaven, they will never lack anything ever again. So we offer things they want or we want for them as well.
Thank you so much. And we will have a full Q&A session with all 4 of our speakers at the very end. So please, feel free to write down your questions and we will have a full session at the very end. So our next guest speaker is going to be Eva Maria. If you're ready, let me make sure that we're sharing that to the Zoom. You should be good to go. Thank you. Oops. How can I? Me. I think we may just have to do it that way. Let me share that real quick, and then I think that. Okay, sorry about that. It's okay, don't worry. Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Eva Maria Castillo, and today I'm going to talk to you about Death is Not the End from the perspective of the South American, and I'm from Peru, so I'm gonna also talk about you the Peruvian culture. So first, let's go for the 4 elements that surrounds the South America when it comes to death. So the first element is the Catholic one. We have a really mixed of the Catholic influence and still the indigenous traditions nowadays, because as you know, or maybe you don't know, the South America has been colonized for many years ago by the Spanish. So they brought the Catholicism to us, and from now then we are do formal rituals like masses. The Catholic Church is also in the big cities mostly. And the second element will be we're really kind of community centered. Like whenever there's an event, like a funeral, we like them to invite the family, neighbors, and relatives to come and share the moment with us. And the third element will be death as a continuation. Like death for us is not the end, but it's another stage, it's another chapter of the cycle of life. And we also care about a lot of color and symbolism that you know more from the next slides I want to show you about. So here are some examples from South America. We have 2 important dates when it comes about death. We have first the Dia de los Muertos, what he calls the All Saints Day, is November 1st, and then el Dia de los Muertos, the first one is the Dia de los Santos, All Saints Day, and the second one is November 2nd, the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. So first we have Ecuador. They usually do gatherings in cemeteries to share a special meal that he calls the colada morada. It's kind of a berry drink, and then guaguas, the pan, that it's bread figures, usually kind of a child figure. And you can see on the picture how it looks like. Then we have the Colombian one. Usually Colombians do altars, and these altars are decorated with flowers, with food, and family spend their entire day storytelling and talk about the deceased, and they share also a meal. Here also have Bolivia. Families create as well altars where they can share food, drinks, and also coca leaves to welcome back the souls. And finally, Argentina. It's really kind of interesting because they have this disposition of the cemeteries in the way that it's kind of more architectural view. We call them La Recoleta. It's one of the most famous cemeteries in Argentina. But now let's go into Peru. So Peru consists in 3 regions: the coast, the Andes, and the Amazon. And the 3 of them think differently about that. First of all, I would like to show you about some stereotypes, and we'll see if they are true through this presentation. So the coast, they mentioned funerals are sad or stuck in silence. They also mentioned probably it can be the same as the US funerals. And in the Andes, funerals are primitive, mourning is only sorrow. Let's see if it's true. And finally, the Amazon funerals are kind of strange, scary, maybe kind of bloody sometimes, and also death with fear. So first of all, let's travel to the coast. So the coast, I'm pointing out right now to the capital, Lima, Peru. So the coast will be all the yellow colored part. Here we believe in more like in the Catholic way. Like we have formal funerals, the mourning can last several days, that we call as misas de honra. We have wakes or velorios, and as I mentioned before, we are community centered, so we invite a lot of family, neighbors, relatives to come and share the moment with us. Here, some examples of cemeteries in the coast of Peru. It's very common to have this wall of niches or stack compartments, basically for like low to middle class people. So, for example, in Lima, we are really populated, we're crowded. So, this is kind of the easy way to put our dead and also in a respectful way in this kind of cemeteries. But also, we have the other type that we bury the bodies that were deceased in these kind of nice places. This is for kind of upper middle, like upper class families. And but it's really nice. But you don't see this as a common because Lima, the coast, we don't have as much as green areas as here, maybe in the US. Then we have these the funerals. We call this as processions. We in funerals we all have to wear black clothes. First, the system works like we have a wake, then a mass, and the procession to the cemetery. For example, this is the picture you see is our latest, well, not latest, one of the presidents that died recently. It calls Alberto Fujimori. And we usually, the stage of the morning, it's something like this. It's kind of, I would say, because the Catholicism like had really influence, so we kind of put it in that way, like the deceased in the middle, and we have candles. We also have flower arrangements. We invite the family. We pray. We share a meal, and that's how it works. Then let's travel to the Andes. We pointed out all the brown area should be the Andes of Peru. Here, people think that death is as a passage. It's not the ending. They believe that souls remain next to them, next to their families, and so therefore they offer food, they offer objects, and we'll see how that works in the following slides. So here, like compared to the coast, these are more kind of nature-wise, and we see the cemeteries are on hillsides, right? They usually have these white crosses. But also here in this picture, it's one province in the Andes of Peru, and it's in Pasco. People like to create these architectural like houses or castles and when they bury their deceased, their loved ones. And also, but also we have this type of cemeteries that stack compartments, but they're made of stone. And in compared to the coast like they're made of concrete. Then we have the funeral celebrations. Like funerals are not as sad as we thought. They're really colorful in the Andes. Like they also have this mix of Catholicism and indigenous rituals. They like to dance, they like to play music, like some kind of carnivals, and they like to storytelling. Like they like to share moments how about their deceased, their loved ones, to everybody of the community. And as you see here, there's the offerings I was mentioned before. They offer this because they believe like the souls, since they are going to be next to them, they don't want them to starve. They don't want to like be cold. So they put a lot of like potatoes, fruit, like clothes over the body. And now we travel to the Amazon of Peru. So I pointed out with a red arrow to the green area. That's the Amazon. And here it's more spiritualistic, the way that they see death. They believe strongly that souls are connected to nature. The soul like maybe transformed into a river or a tree or an animal. And they usually do these rituals painting their bodies in red. And they sing as well, and they have a lot of like spiritual ceremonies. Here has kind of a comparison as well with cemeteries. There in the Amazon, they're usually near their houses, and they, as you see, they're blend with the environment. Like you see a lot of like trees, green around the cemetery. You see a cat here. Like there's a lot of animals going around there, but it's really beautiful. Like even the community could take care of these cemeteries. We have funerals. The funerals here are more spiritualistic. They bury their loved ones with natural materials, as you see here. They decorate it with flower arrangements. Like they invited like their families. I just there are so many people because we like them like to share a moment. It's so special to us. So people gathered, and maybe we have this as fancy funerals like here in the coffin, but still like you will see a lot of people gather in this kind of type of events. And here is also mentioned they usually do these rituals that they paint their faces red because this type of color for them represents resilience, represents like a next step of life. That's what they believe those. So let's reject the stereotypes I was mentioning before. So we learned that the coast, the funeral are not that sad and not that sorrow. Instead, like it's more like a family gathering. They're social, they're supporting and caring. It's as I mentioned multiple times, we are community centered. In the Andes, for example, there's a lot of blending with the Catholicism and the indigenous traditions, and we celebrate life. We celebrate the next step of like our life cycle. And finally, the Amazon, like rituals are meaningful, like painting your face in red, and that is really respected. Like in Amazon, we believe that their soul will serve on something else and will like grow on something beautiful as nature. And a fun fact, when I was like looking for this, I kind of learned as well. I didn't know that we have a cemetery for Peruvian hairless dogs. Uh, it's in the coast of Peru, in La Valleque, kind of the north of Peru. And also, like in the past, people were buried with this kind of dolls because we believed, like my ancestors believed that these souls will serve as companions for the souls. And also, I don't know if you know this is a famous mummy in Peru. We call it Mummy Juanita. They found her in this position, and where people like Incas, our ancestors, were burying people in the fetal position, and they wrap up with clothes. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alrighty. So our third presenter, let me go ahead and get yours up. See. Is going to be Jean-Marc from UT. Let me make sure I'm sharing your right screen here. There we go.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Jean-Marc and I'm from Haiti. So, for you guys that don't know, Haiti is on the Hispaniola island in the Caribbean, and we share a border with Dominican Republic. So, thank you for being here today, and I want to share how Haitians think about death. So, I want you guys to take a moment and think about the last time you guys discussed death. Not as a whisper, not as a tragedy, but part of a normal conversation. And it might be difficult to imagine, but today I want to take you guys to a place where the opposite is true. A place where death is not as hard ending, but it's a continuing relationship with the family and the ancestors. So what is the culture of death in Haiti? In Haiti, at its heart, it's a very hands-on communal process focused on a unique blend of Catholicism and Vodou traditions. While most Haitians are Catholic, many also practice Vodou, which is not a cult of black magic, but it's actually a complex spiritual system. In this worldview, there is one creator, God, but we also believe that our lives are intertwined with spirits. And when a person dies, their soul doesn't just vanish, it begins a journey. Death is seen as a transition, a passage from the world of the living to Guinea, which is the ancestral world beneath the waters. The deceased becomes an ancestor, a spirit, and who can still be part of the family, offering guidance and protection. Because of this belief, death is not private in Haiti. It's not an isolated event. It's a community affair. The family is not left alone to grieve. Neighbors, friends, and the community, people that have a relationship with the deceased, they come home to help. They prepare the rituals and organize everything. The mourning process is very vocal and expressive. There's a lot of crying and powerful shared outpouring of grief. And I think it is a stark contrast to the maybe Western world, quiet, very private view of death and funerals as a whole. In Haiti, death is not hidden away, it is confronted, embraced, and processed together. So now you may hear the words Haiti and death, and unfortunately, you might jump to some spooky, sensational stereotypes. Thank you, Hollywood. But the biggest one is that Haiti rituals is not about spooky voodoo, quote unquote, and zombies. The rituals around death are about respect, and they're sacred practices designed to honor the deceased and ensure their spirit has a safe and peaceful journey to the ancestral realm. The ceremonies serve two main purposes. The first one is for the soul to separate from the body, and the second one is to protect the living from any lingering spiritual attachment that could cause trouble. It's a spiritual process, it's not a scary one. So what about zombies? Well, the zombie myth perhaps might be the most persistent and damaging stereotype to Haiti. Fun fact, zombie actually comes from Haitian culture that was adapted into modern day media. So yes, it does exist in Haitian folklore, but it represents a deep fear of slavery, where the loss of one's soul, the loss of one's will, and like maybe their identity. It is a powerful social metaphor, I would say. It's not a literal everyday occurrence. Do not expect to find people trying to raise the dead at a Haitian funeral. The reality is that Haitian rituals are profound and are profound in spirituality and community as well. It's a deep reverence to the cycle of life and death. If you were to walk into a Haitian cemetery, it would look nothing like the manicured green lawn with headstones. Instead, you will find yourself in a vibrant, colorful, and crowded city of the dead. You can kind of see it on the picture all the way to the left, although those are not too vibrant anymore. But most Haitians are buried in above ground tombs, and they're made out of concrete, of course. These tombs are like small ornate houses. As you can see on this one, it says it's the name of a family, so the whole family is buried together. And as I said, they're painted in bright colors, often white, pastel blue, yellow, or pink. The most striking is personalization. They're not anonymous stone markers. You can expect to see maybe a picture of the deceased, something that they really enjoyed in life that would be laid next to them. And you will very often find a bottle of rum, which is sacred in Haiti. This is not seen as morbid, but it's actually seen as a way of maintaining an active, loving relationship with the ancestors. The cemetery is not a final resting place, so much as another neighborhood where you move after you die. And it's a place where the barrier between the living and the dead is incredibly thin. Once a year during Fête Guédé, which is our Festival of the Dead, which is also November 1st and 2nd, you might see these cemeteries erupt in like massive celebration. This is one of them over there. I don't know how good you guys can see it, but imagine the cemeteries above in the picture. And you'd see people with music, dancing, and the ritual as families welcome the spirits of their ancestors back for a visit, just 1 or 2 days. So what does a Haitian funeral actually looks like? It's a multi-stage event, just like at your house, at your home, I'm sorry. And I think it perfectly captures the culture and ability to hold deep sorrow and explosive joy at the same time. It begins with the wake of a, and it's often held at a family home where that can last for several nights. But it's not a quiet, somber gathering. The home is filled with people and immediate family and people close to the family itself, I guess, are here to provide support. They sing, they tell stories about the person that just passed, and they play different games. Dominoes is very important in Haiti as well. And they share food and Haitian coffee. The Vey is about community coming together to lift up the grieving family and celebrate the life that was once lived. Next is the funeral service, which is typically more solemn. It's more of a formal Catholic mass held at a church. And this is the moment for formal prayers and a strong expression of grief. I'll do it tough. But, and then comes the procession. The procession is where the mood dramatically changes. As you guys can see here, people are carrying bodies, and the procession is from the church to the cemetery. And as the casket is being carried away from the church, it is met with a band, a rara band. The music is not slow, it's not sad. On the contrary, it's very upbeat, loud, and rhythmic. People begin dancing, sing, following the casket through the street all the way to the cemetery. Usually they're very close to each other. This is not a disrespectful, it's not disrespectful, it's a celebration. And it's a joyous send-off, at least in my opinion. It's a party to propel the soul on its new journey to the afterlife with energy and style. It is a parade that acknowledges the sadness of the loss while celebrating the life that was and the spiritual journey that is the beginning. that is beginning. Well, in conclusion, in Haiti, death is not a final goodbye. It is a transition that is faced head on with tears, but also with dancing. It is faced with solemn prayers, but also with joyful music. It is an event that belongs not to one individual, but to a community. It reminds us that life and death are not opposite, but two parts of the same continuous sacred cycle. And perhaps it teaches us that facing death so openly, we can learn to live our lives maybe more fully. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty, and last but by no means least, we get our last presentation up and going here. Alrighty, we are going to hear from Savar from Panama, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Cesar. I'm from Panama, Central America, and today I'm going to talk about a little bit of Central America belief and death perspective from Panama. So, in Central America, death is not hiding away or avoided. Instead, it's more about remember, honor, and connected with community. Um, Religion plays a central role of how people see death. Most of the region is Catholic or Christian because of the Spanish colonization. And people believe that after life, soul can go to heaven, purgatory, or hell. But also, indigenous tradition is more about survive. Some cultures believe that the spirit of the dead can visit the living, especially on special days. And it's more about in families. I remember that I heard about a story from different in families. They are fighting, and they in their dreams, the they like a loved one appears on the dreams, and but it's more about telling them to fix the problem. And they weren't, it's not more like nightmares, it's more about telling them to create like a good environment in their families. The most important tradition is the second November of every year, like some of the other countries. But here I want to ask you. First one, we born, we know, then we live, and then we die. What is next? Most most of the people they say like no, it's nothing. It depends of their religions, but for us, it's more about create a memory and a new journey for most of the people who die. Okay, for Panama, um going to cemetery, decorate grave, bring food, light candle, and pray for the loved one is more about like what we do in there. Um, it is not seen as the end; it's a continuity of life, and people really take care of their loved one about their grave. They really decorate that because even if they have died, they really know that they deserve more than uh, they had when they were alive. It's very community central. When someone dies, families, friends, and even neighbors come together and try to support the family. Grieving family, the Catholic Church plays the hug role. Families pray the rosary, attend mass, and ask God to give peace to the soul of the person. The focus um, is not only sadness, but also is about fight and hope. This isn't avoid conversation. People really talk about openly about the disease, share history, remember their values, and everything they live, about their footprints and everything that happened with them. But let's move like a song of stereotype versus reality in Panama. One is about like most of the funeral is about chaotic, loud, and dramatic. But the reality in Panama is a funeral are more about respectful, serious, and prideful. People cry and show emotions, but they do it with dignity. Another about another stereotype about funeral is about like if they do a disorganized or simple. But even if the family don't have like a daily enough money, they try to do a mindful and the best work to give them like a good respectful service when they die. Um, and also they used to for weeks it's more focusing in rosary hymns, not just crying. People really talk about that. People really try to share history to remember that about why they do, why they have done. Let's go to cemetery and places of life and memories. Here's like a typical in Panama. We begins with a wake or as we call velorio. The body is usually in the family home. Nobody uh, sleep like for 9 days. We create like a altar and we spend our time there and we try to the all of family members try to schedule like a 1 day and try to connect because if we leave the altar alone we believe that the soul is not gonna be in peace. So they used to pray like every every 9 days and then it's gonna be for once a month, and then it's gonna be 1 year of anniversary for those who have died. Those rituals are believed to help souls find the peace and remind them family to the loved one. During the 9 days prior, it is more common to offer guests coffee, tea, and bread. It's something like a people. It's kind of like a something funny because people say, let's go to to pray for the someone who died, but it's because they wanna there is gonna be food, you know. But at the end, it's try to connect with them because I remember that when I came to the United States, I used to think about my niece, and she were like at 3 years, and a few months after I got here, she died, and she appeared in many dreams. At the beginning, I just thought that it was about nightmare, but she just was trying to telling me to visit to the grave and say goodbye. I remember that she likes to watch, the Cartoon Network, like Masha and the bear. I remember that I back to my country in last November, and I stayed like next to the grave, and I just watched the video, and then I just cried. But at the end, it was just like I tried to connect with her and telling her that, I really feel like sorry because I couldn't say goodbye to her, and I really promised her that to graduate here and then back to my country and help her, but you know the life change every day. We don't know what's gonna happen the next day. And yeah, it doesn't. I was telling you guys about like saying goodbye in Panama, wake like a velorio, include family, friends, gathering, body present, the praise and rosary are the common part of the funerals. For most of the indigenous tradition, they use songs to guide the spirit. But it's more a little bit part of Panama. There's like a Pi community that we have, but it's almost the same for whole Central America in Panama. That what we believe, and for those that try to support those who have passed away. And I wanna end like my presentation with a passage of Cicero. It's from a philosopher in statement. And the life of the dead is a place in the memory of the living. And just for all of Panamanian, we really take care about those who we have like still alive, because we don't know what is gonna be next, and we just try to enjoy our time together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I'm gonna open it up to questions. So does anybody have any questions for any of our speakers? Yes.
I have one that everybody can answer really that I'll to hear, and that is how does your specific like rituals for death kind of help you eternalize what's going on, whenever somebody dies? Because I feel like I'm not really too religious, so when somebody dies, it's a process, but through your own culture, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you deal with that, so I just wanted to hear you guys' perspective of that.
Go in any order, go ahead and answer
Well,
first.
I think for me, it's going back to everything being such a community event and having people with you. Like I remember when my when my grandpa passed away, like not recently, but the latest one. For I would say honestly, the first week, every day I had either people over at my place or I was over at my uncle's place, and we're always together as a family event every night. And it is a nice way because this is actually one of the time you hear surprising stories about them and about their lives, things that you didn't know. And I think it's a way that at first for me, it's always, oh, why is this happening? You know, even if we all know it's supposed to happen, why is this happening? And then it becomes more of a natural process where it's like, well, at least this is what we can be happy about and remember the person for it. And I think over time, by the end of the week, it's of course like in grief, there's always ups and downs. But I think by the end of the 9 days, actually, that people are together, you actually feel a lot better and a lot more connected in a way with the person that just passed.
Well, in my case, like I have influence from the coast of Peru, but also the Andes. So my mom's side is from the Andes. So I really like the gatherings when I was in funerals. The last one I couldn't go, but my grandma passed away like 3 years ago. And they did everything, like they did one gathering in the coast with all our relatives that were there, and then the other one in the Andes. And it's kind of funny because, well, for me, for my family, because my grandma, she was so unserious like about that. Like she was telling me, "Hey, you need to visit me," you know. She always liked mixing Coke with beer, so it was her favorite beverage. So whenever, like last year, I visited her to the cemetery, I brought a bottle of Coke and a bottle of beer. It's like, "Hey, grandma." So the way that we take care about their dead, like our loved ones, it makes me feel at ease. Because I feel like my family, like my siblings, they're going to visit me. So in certain ways, like I'm not afraid. So that's what I believe.
I'm gonna say that is something like happened to me with my it's more about to do something that we used to do together with they were alive, you know. For example, my niece is that she likes to be like to watch the Masha and the bear. And that's what I want because I feel that this was a good way to connect with her and say goodbye. Even I wasn't there, I couldn't be there for her funeral, but it's a good way that try to do something that really try, like I really connect with them spiritually or something like a in person.
And for me, it's very interesting to hear different rituals from different parts of the world and find so many similarities in my own culture. So I heard from your presentations about like having 9 days in your rituals, and for us we have 7 days, but we have 7 cycles of those 7 days. So it's a like prolonged process, and during this cycle, we have a lot of chanting of the Buddhism scripts, like saying rosary. We have family gatherings for sure. So I guess that's how people process the loss of their loved ones. We need support from the family. We share the special moments and celebrate those funny stories in their lives when they were alive. I guess this is how we go through this difficult time, but you can notice we need a longer period of time in Chinese culture. I guess this is because for us we have multi-generational multi-generation living. We live with our parents, with our grandparents. It's a big family. We all live together. That's the tradition. And you can imagine that since you were born, you live with the same people maybe for 50 years or 60 years until your parents leave you forever. So once that happens, it can be very difficult. One day, wake up, people who live with you for 50 years, they're no longer there. So the life change can be very strange for people. And if we fill in our days with very busy rituals, with a lot of people visiting us, maybe that can distract us a little bit. And then we need a longer period of time to gradually accept that big change in our lives. So that's my take, how people process this.
So I did find it interesting, the similarities amongst the different cultures. When I was a freshman or sophomore in college, I took a course on world religions and their origins. And so and that's what they talked about, this book, The Power of Myth, I think it was the name by Joseph Campbell. And so he examined all the commonalities, because that due to human migration, he left some things open there, but it does talk about how we see different parts of the world, we see the commonalities. And Joseph Campbell is also influential to a guy named George Lucas, where you also see the same themes in the first. For me, the first Star Wars movie, 1977. That was the first. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, yeah, great job on your presentation. I gotta run. Again, it's just fascinating to see culture, whether it's arts or architecture, how things, the similarities in around the world.
Any other questions from you?
So I did have a question specifically about, you mentioned in your presentation that zombies came from like Haitian folklore.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could elaborate more on that, like were they like the same?
So I'm gonna give you guys basically the whole story. So basically, so what happened is in 1829, so Haiti had been independent for maybe 25 years at that point, but it was not a recognized country by all the big countries around it. So struggling country, of course. About 10,000 Haitians left and they went to the US. They all came to New Orleans. And at the time, the New Orleans population was about 10,000 as well. So essentially the population doubled and became half Haitian. And of course, they came with their own beliefs, which has the Haitian folklore, which is where zombies come from. But you know, when you move to a new place, you adapt to local traditions and some stuff change. So over time, that's why like over there in New Orleans, they speak a lot about voodoo, which originates from traditional Haitian voodoo. So over the last 200 years, maybe to market it and to make it more palatable for media, they changed it and they made it fun, and those traditions became more zombie-like or everything. For example, Princess and the Frog in Disney, when they show you all those things with like purple, black magic, oh yeah, we don't do that. But it is interesting because I go to New Orleans, like I went to New Orleans a couple times, and there's a lot of people that are from Haitian descendants, but there's 200 years between us. So we really went two separate paths. Like we don't speak the same Creole or anything like that. So, but that's where it comes from. And then it just went to the world, to all the new stuff.
Thank you.
So I think we're like right at the end of our hour. So if you have any questions for any of our speakers, please feel free to ask them after the session as well. And if y'all can join me in giving them another huge round of applause. It was incredible, and we thank all of you for your time and your willingness to come and talk about this. So thank you so much. A couple of things, couple of like quick housekeeping things before we go. First off, if you did not sign in the back, please do before you leave. We will have card swipes next week, so bring your Nautilus cards. And also I'd like to encourage all of you to bring a friend next week. Remember, this is open to the public, so they do not have to be honored affiliated. Please feel free to bring as many friends as you would like. Next week, we actually have 2 sessions. The first is going to be on Thursday. It's going to be in this room from 3 to 4 p.m. And we are going to be learning about the symbolism and ritual behind military vehicles. So if you're interested in that at all, it's a special session. So please feel free to come on out. And then on Friday during our normal time in here, we will have Professor Brenda Muncher from our nursing program here. And she spent about 30 years as a hospice nurse. And she is going to talk about the experience of being a hospice nurse, what it's like, how she deals with patients and how she kind of deals with facing death on the daily. And how she is now teaching that to students and how to prepare them for that in the real world. So I hope that you all will join us, and I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend. If you have any other questions, please feel free to say that, but otherwise, see you soon. Thank you all for your time.
Don't give me that face, Brian, is to make the same.